I would like to invite Avinash Rao.
Thanks. Okay, thanks for the opportunity. Great to be back with this community speaking. I see several familiar faces in the crowd, including one gentleman whose slides I'm referencing in today's presentation. Um, so, what I want to talk about today, really, and I'll start sharing my screen. Give me a second. Yeah, this one's called Survival Tips for Agile Coaches. Actually, it's for both Agile coaches as well as for Scrum Masters. What I want to do today is talk a little bit about how some of the things are changing in the industry because of the whole pandemic. There's also a gentleman on this call, Anand. He sent me this really interesting concept a couple of days ago where he was saying, he asked the question, are we fundamentally changing something as a result of this pandemic? Or are we really looking at an acceleration of existing trends, which I thought was a really interesting thing for all of us to think about. Now, this is an ancient Chinese quote. Given the current circumstances, I promise for my next presentation, I'll have a more Atmanirbhar quote. But I found this rather suitable for the times that we're living in. It's an ancient Chinese curse that says, may you live in interesting times. And we are definitely living in very, very interesting times at the moment. Um, just a couple of data points that I want to share here. Um, is that if you really look at, there was a recent survey which was done where people were asked when the activity will return to normal, and this was all the Fortune 500 companies. And a majority of people, I've seen other studies also done on the same topic where these numbers are even higher, but there seems to be a reasonable amount of consensus that life as we know it today will go back to the way it was, or at least achieve a new normal by about Q1 2022 or late 2021. You also know that there's been a severe impact to the growth in all the areas that we as IT professionals typically work with. Another really interesting thing, again, from the PwC CFO survey is, and this is really important, what will this crisis do to the pace of technological transformation? And every customer that I'm working with tells the same story, that they are cutting money on several non-priority items. They are culling several projects which were essentially the Walking Dead. All the zombie projects are being culled, and a significant investment is being made into technological transformation and business transformation initiatives. This, I think, is something that we will see across the industry. It's given CFOs in particular a great opportunity. Like they said, never go let a crisis go waste. So they've got this tremendous opportunity to say, how can we disrupt the way we were doing things before, and made it easy for them to say no to a lot of things which were just business as usual, and redirect that funding towards the acceleration of transformation. The interesting other bit, and I think here my personal view is that it'll be a combination of some on-site work, but with many people working a lot more remotely than they have been doing in the past. But uh, so I'll skip to the next one. But the twin challenges for coaches really is that the rate of change will accelerate. What clients are demanding now, if you recall this, is that they want to accelerate the rate of change. But at the same time, the way we work really will be different. Right. So the combination of both of these, and for Scrum Masters, for coaches, will significantly result in a different way of work than what we all have been used to in the past. Just to give you a little bit of context to this, I've been a frequent speaker in many conferences, and often what I really like to do is look at the faces of everybody in the crowd, and I know that there are some items which connect, some items which don't connect, and I use that feedback to immediately change what I'm saying or how I'm delivering some of these points. Now, with the remote session, for example, that becomes much harder. So there has to be some mechanism that I need to adopt if I have to be as effective a speaker, for me to continue to deliver some of these sessions this way or as effectively as I've done in the past. So all of us will need to reconfigure our toolkits as we go along. But that's not the primary focus of this session. What I want to talk about also has to deal with productivity. Every session that I've gone to, every report that I've read, surprisingly has said that productivity has increased during the lockdown. There was a recent event where somebody said that the worst case scenario, which is a very pessimistic study, it said that productivity has actually decreased, and it's decreased 1%. So the worst case scenario says that it has decreased 1%, which means that definitely, as a very surprising theme in this lockdown, we are seeing that productivity actually hasn't gone down. I would like all of you to think about, though, that given that we work in an agile mode and we are really interested in outcomes, in value, as to what has increased. Are we doing more of the same? Are we doing enough to think about what value is really to our customers? Because I assure you, our customers are definitely thinking about that. So a few things that I've seen in the last 2 to 3 months, and I picked up on a lot of these. All these were counterintuitive for me. And when it's counterintuitive for me, then I kind of wake up and say, why are people behaving like this? Why are companies behaving like this? Why are customers behaving like this? We're seeing an increase in the demand for Scrum Masters, but there's a wrinkle. So many years ago, in the early days of Agile, that was a long time ago now, but in the earlier days of Agile, people used to come and say, we want Scrum Masters to manage their teams. And then we enlightened people would roll our eyes and we would say, guys, there's a difference between the SM role and there's a difference between the manager role. But this is something different. A lot of people, a lot of customers are now saying, companies are saying, we want SMs to manage this team. And then I started thinking, we need to understand rather than judge, because my first reaction was, dear God, you don't understand Agile. But the requests started piling up, and I started thinking, this is too many instances for me to just blame it on people being ignorant. Also, if I don't do it, someone else will do it. So that's another thing to worry about. But keeping that aside, there seems to be this genuine ask and desire for SMs to manage their team. So what does that mean? What is driving that? That is something that's very interesting for me. The other thing that is very interesting is that there's a drop in classical coaching requests where you say, get us this large team of Agile coaches, they will come and transform everybody into a new way of work. Two problems with that. One, a lot of companies have already done or gone through that process. So naturally, the number of people with that ask reduces. But at the same time, the interesting thing for me was that there's an increased demand and recognition for agile whisperers, and this is a term I made up, who can actually guide clients on agile adoption. And these people are really valued. I had one customer a little while ago who came and said, well, I'll actually pay you more than what's in the rate card for people like this, if you can get me people like this. So that's another data point that's very interesting for me. And I started thinking about why these things are happening, right? What's really driving the behavior of companies and clients in making these asks? So I put together three trends that I see happening and that impacts all of us as a community. Trend one, I think, and this is something that has been happening even before the pandemic. What the pandemic has done is accelerated some of these trends. And the primary acceleration is something that I'll come to in just a little bit. But trend one is, I call it the end of the checklist driven agile. So we used to have, and I've done this myself many times, you go in, you carry in an instrument, you evaluate. So we carry in an instrument, we evaluate to high, medium, low, and then we prescribe them a coaching plan. And then now a lot of these similar conversations, you go in, you carry an instrument, you say you're high, medium, you're low. Then you prescribe a plan and people turn around and say, okay, what benefits will those plans deliver? Will you commit to those? The Scrum Master that you then put on the platform, on the project, will he or she commit to delivering the benefits that are there in your plan? How will you execute to the plan? How will you make sure that what's promised by the plan is actually delivered? Right? So that definitely spells the end of the checklist driven agile approach that I've also been a part of. The trend two that I see is the end of, but I'm just an agile coach. Right? If you just Google this phrase, you will actually get a lot of themes on the internet where people say, I'm just an agile coach. I'm not a doctor. I can't assure that you'll actually get well. Okay, we wouldn't accept that from a doctor. I'm not a mason. I can't assure you that the building will stand. We definitely wouldn't hire that mason either. I'm not a software engineer. But wait, we won't go there because we know what happens with software. But making it happen is one of the driving asks that we're seeing as a big change, and it's just becoming more and more as there's increased pressure and increased attention on focusing the available dollars, pounds, and euros and rupees on scarce transformation projects. This is very different from the past confusion about Scrum Master roles, right? Our Scrum Masters, managers, that's gone away. But what people are asking is, will your Scrum Master actually work with the team to deliver the benefits of the transformation? And they're demanding that. So that's a really big change. The third trend is the end of, I'm an agile guy, but I'm not a Jira expert. I'm not a metrics expert. I'm not a BPR expert. So both for agile coaches as well as for Scrum Masters, especially for transformations, the skills are very, very quickly becoming multimodal. What I mean by that is, for a long time, it was enough particularly for Scrum Masters, to be just a Scrum Master and nothing else, well versed with the basics of Agile. I also know personally a lot of Agile coaches who are very focused on the transformation as using the agile principles. But I've also heard from them many times that, hey, they want me to reconfigure Jira in a way that makes it much more, that gives them additional insight on what's really happening inside their organization. But I'm not a Jira expert. Or they come and say they want me to design metrics which will showcase to executive management how we will actually be able to look at the progress of this entire agile transformation. But I'm not a metrics expert. I look at agile, I look at culture, I look at teams, etc. Or they say, I'm not a change management expert. I'm not a business process reengineering expert. I can't reconfigure the way my customer works in order to really drive some of the benefits that really come from these agile transformations. But the patience in the industry, though, for a lot of such statements is really going away. Agile is no longer an exotic animal that people will take on face value just because it's in the beginning it was cool, then everybody else was doing it. Now there's a much harder, sharper edge to it, because companies and customers now say, I want results, and agile is a way to achieve those results, and therefore we must do what it takes. And if it takes tool reconfiguration, if it takes dashboard design, if it takes BPR to achieve those results, then that's exactly what we need to do. Right? So putting it all together, um, along with some of the other trends that are happening in our society as a whole, is something that is known as the collapse of the middle. Now, many of you will have heard of the collapse of the middle. It's been a thing in the US for actually a while now. Some of the you'll see that in many countries, and it's actually true fairly across the world, that people are separating out from the center to the extremes, both to the positive extreme as well as to the negative extremes. One example here is retail. For example, there are some stores, chains, which are running away with the higher end of the market, capturing a much higher portion of the value. And then there are other discount brands which are also doing extremely well. A lot of brands online are doing very, very well, but the ones in the middle are getting squeezed. They no longer have either the high profit margins of the ones in the upper arena, nor the operational excellence to make money with the prices at the lower end. Um, we also, there's actually research that says that it's happening in farming. There are people who are aggregating larger and larger tracts of land, making it very profitable, using drones to spray seeds and pesticides. And on the other hand, you hear a lot about subsistence farming. So that's also breaking up. In the US particularly, there's also this whole thing about that the middle is segregating into a very, very well established upper income, and then much more exposed and vulnerable lower income. And that's a part of their societal trend as well. For a long time, I've been reading about this for a while in the US, but now we see this literally everywhere we work. The collapse of the middle is accelerating in middle management, as we see in Indian IT. If you've been reading the newspaper, you know that the pandemic has become an opportunity, I would say, not an excuse, for a lot of companies to do house cleaning. And what they're doing really is separating their people out into, do I have people who are really good? Okay, so let me reward them. Let me make sure they don't leave. There's also a bunch of people who say, okay, they're not costing us too much, so that's fine. The ones that are vulnerable are the ones in the middle who no longer have the skills to be part of the upper quadrant, but aren't as inexpensive as they used to be, let's say, many years ago. An interesting thing is that I've actually been seeing this in development teams for a while now. We used to have this typical bell curve, right, in most of our teams. I don't know if you worked with the sort of teams that I did, but I worked with a lot of large programs, and the large programs had about, let's say, about 100 people. And you'd have this very typical bell curve where you had 20 really good people, 20 people who were being dragged around, and the middle, which got a bunch of stuff done, but not as much as the guys at the top. Now, I've had customers come up to me very, very clearly saying, we no longer accept, we no longer want that sort of distribution. We understand that there will be people who will come in at the bottom, but they have to be sharp, they have to be well trained, and they have to be led by people who really, really get it. And this large portion of what used to be B and C players is not something that people are willing to live with. So the rewards are disproportionately going to superstars with many hands and legs. Another thing that I find whenever I look at the newspaper, I see I see both of these images, right? You have the images on the left where these people on the left aren't really destitute, right? They're wearing jeans, they're wearing decent slippers, they've got bags. So they had a fairly decent lifestyle, which has been completely disrupted by the coronavirus. And on the other hand, you flip a page to what used to be called page 3, and you have all these people who have suddenly discovered baking and cooking. So um, the collapse of the middle is everywhere as well. Some of us can lock ourselves away, use sanitizing wipes on every big basket delivery, and the others are much more vulnerable and exposed to what's happening. So, what is that, putting it together, what does that really mean then to the Agile Coach Scrum Master community? So, particularly for Scrum Masters, that means making change happen with teams and proving those agile benefits to execs is becoming an implicit part of the job, right? So they work with teams to execute. They need evidence and data based communication. They need the ability to do that, and they need to collate and convert improvements into value. It's no longer enough to do what we were doing as Scrum Masters. Also, for agile coaches, it's become a lot more about sense making, about change management, explaining why things are the way they are, and then be able to propose levers and execute the levers for improvement, and then actually tie the value back to the changes that they have made as agile coaches. Um, One of the things that I see literally, and obviously once you have a hammer, everything does look like a nail. So I'm willing to accept a little bit of discredit for that. But when I look at management, I see the same thing happening in development teams and in test teams. Particularly in test teams, if you look at it, just a few years ago, we used to have these large team of testers who used to just run through whatever it is that they were doing. And now the demand is that developers do testing, and if you do have testers in an agile team, it's primarily automation testers, and they need to write those automation scripts in the n or the n minus one iteration itself. It's no longer a very large gap. So what I wanted to do really was, I hope that you'll think about how our roles as Scrum Masters and Agile coaches really are evolving in the larger context in which our industry, our communities embedded, and some of the themes that are really happening as we go through this transformation. The transformation is something which was already happening before the pandemic started. It's not something that's been created by the pandemic. It's just given a lot of people an opportunity to accelerate that. And I think companies, businesses are really taking advantage of it. I did want to leave a bunch of time for questions. That's a favorite part, I think, of any session that we have. So I'd like to use about half the time that I have in order to do questions. I think I have 10 minutes left. So I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Avinash. Yes, we'll be having 5 to 10 minutes for the question and answer. So I request all the participants to just write your questions if you have any. So let's take first question. So the first question is from Rajesh. Would that mean coach would be more focused on delivery directive on tools deadline than growing the team as a servant leader?
Sorry, give me the first part of the question again. I get the part where instead of being a servant leader,
Yeah,
what is the first part of the
I'll
question?
repeat again. So would that mean coach would be more focused on delivery directive on tools deadlines than growing the team as a servant leader?
What does growing the team as a servant leader really mean? Is that an end in itself, or is that a way to achieve an end? By growing the team as a servant leader, what are we helping them accomplish? Now, each scenario is different. It's just that I think it's almost like pouring water from one glass to another. The water was concentrated on the growing growing the team glass, and I think some of it will go into the other glass, but that doesn't mean that the first glass will empty completely, if that makes any sense. So there will be increased focus, and the agile coaches will indeed have to spend an increased amount of time on quote unquote delivery. That definitely will change, but they will not be effective if they stop focusing on servant leadership, on growing the team itself. Then they would be no different from, let's say, a project manager, and they would lose the lever that they have really in order to accomplish that change. Did that answer the question?
That Rajesh can only see.
Yes.
So, okay, we'll take the next question. So, it is from Kavita. The ask is completely fine as SMS to take care in agile style. How do you see an SM being customized to a PM? I perceive it unhealthy. You thoughts? I mean, your thoughts?
So I think what the question is asking is, it is unhealthy for an SM to be perceived as a PM. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. I actually fully believe that putting people management and appraisal management in the hands of the SM would be extremely retrograde. I don't think anybody is suggesting that at all. But at the same time, is there greater accountability on the SMs to do a function called performance management? I think so. A little bit of this function of performance management, where they work with the team to develop their skills, to actually, in some cases, especially when you're working with younger, less mature teams, even drive some of that performance management will become part of the Scrum Master's job. But that doesn't mean the SM does the appraisal at the end of the year.
Okay, so the next question is from Priyank. What are good certification from for remote agile coach?
So, and this is just me, okay? So, in this question, you should probably take this with a pinch or a ton of salt. I don't see, I see a lot of these qualities as being driven by experience. A certification is a good way for you to get a baseline understanding, and to be able to credentialize yourself, right, in the market. But your effectiveness, it's very rare that somebody's effectiveness is driven by their certification. So I personally am the sort of person who looks less at certification, so I might be undervaluing it, but apologies for that. I think you have to do it and live that life to actually learn the skills to succeed. And a lot of these are actually life skills. So it's not something that you bring in only in your job, but it's actually a part of who you are. Sorry, I think that's an unhelpful answer.
And the next question is from Rohit. Does it mean that multitasking will be considered as an agile trait now with changing business environment?
I think the ability to switch contexts will become extremely important. There will be portions of your day when you will work in a very transactional manner. There will be portions of the day when you can sit back and you need to think about the big picture and how you're going to get it done. It's very challenging in the pandemic. I, for one, is somebody who likes to be alone when I think. And now I literally have no alone time, right? Because I'm locked in a house with the family, and the door's locked so the family can't hear it, and I doubt if they'll see the recording. But I miss the time when I'm able to be alone in a conference room, just writing things on the board so that I can think for myself. um, we've got to figure out ways where we can create those sandboxes, where we are doing transactional items, where we are doing thinking, so that we can successfully do these switches in in context. So I would see it as a switch in context and the ability to do that as an agile skill.
Okay, so next question is from Ram Prasad Rajendran. How do you see the companies expect SM to be technical or SME?
Yes, that's a really great question. Companies are beginning to demand that their SMs either be technical or they be domain. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that is definitely happening. The generic cookie cutter SM who is able to go into any context and add value is struggling. Uh, so again, I think it's a collapse of the middle, right? There will be some SMs who will be very, very generic, who will not get as much opportunities. There are some who are brilliant at doing it, who have the skills to really build high performing teams, and they can work irrespective of domain. They can work irrespective of uh, irrespective of which technology it is. But you have to be that good. If you're in the middle, I think it is better that people have either a domain or a technology because it will help.
So Abhinav is saying that very insightful session, and he would like to know how Scrum Master can sustain and grow as project managers in medium-sized company.
How Scrum Masters can grow as project managers. So the responsibility of managing a project, the way I think about it is, let's say there is a review, there's a senior management review of your program, and this is even more true in mid-sized organizations. Who is the person that they would call to actually say, you represent the project? That person is the project manager. It's a function. There are resource managers with the tag of project managers who have absolutely no clue what's happening in the project, right? And it simply doesn't make sense for those people to go stand, because they would look at the Scrum Master to answer every question on what's really happening on the ground. The person who understands best what's happening on the ground and is able to represent that to the to management, as an example, or to stakeholders, is performing the project management function in my mind. The only caveat there is that nobody expects Scrum Masters to look at some of the financial items, which still rest very often with a shared project or a program manager. So how do you grow? To going back to that question, I don't think I answered that. How do you grow is that you take greater ownership, accountability, and explain to people what's really happening in the project. That I think is a project manager skill. What will really happen is that people who have that ability will naturally see themselves grow as a project manager. But I think Indian IT has never had fantastic project management. We've always been reasonably mediocre, but that's my view.
Avinash, Abhinav here. I only asked that question. So, from the context of that question, actually, I see even in my company, it's a sort of medium-sized company.
Mhm.
The Scrum Master is actually the one who is even doing the project management also. But that person is, I would say, like he's caught in the middle, where he's not able to deliver completely as a Scrum Master or as a project manager. So now, as in the current times where we are seeing companies cutting down and expecting people to develop multi skills of a Scrum Master and a project manager, or companies are not that mature enough to understand the difference between the two, that scenario is actually popping up, and
Yes,
that is where the project or the project team is actually getting confused and are lagging in their delivery or their efficiency to deliver. So my question
correct.
was from that perspective.
So My response, I think, is that you will see a lot more Scrum Masters moving in the direction of project managers. In my mind, the two roles are extremely clearly defined and sit in different places. But given how things are, I do see Scrum Masters moving in this direction rather than managers moving towards servant leadership.
Fine. Thank you.
So can we take the remaining questions offline?
I would like, yes, sure, absolutely. There is one comment that I saw, thought though, saw that are we moving towards a hero-based model? Somebody had put that, it's now gone somewhere in my feed, but that I thought was a fantastic question, and just wanted to call that out. I worry about that every day. We were in a hero-based model. We moved away from that to make it more process-oriented, but we do seem to be moving the wheel of fate does seem to be moving in that direction, and I'm not sure that's a great thing for us for it to happen as an industry. So I worry about that as well. I don't have a solution though.
Okay, so thank you, Avinash. Thank you for your session. You received a very good comments, although. So
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be speaking here.
Would you be able to take another question? It's Mukesh.
We take for 1-2 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, Avinash, amazing session, and then thanks for your time. My straightforward question to you: Scrum or Kanban? What's your take in person, based on the insightful challenges and the demand that you had, explained in the session? Do you suggest moving Kanban from maturity outlook? It has been really less recognized in terms of potential.
So I see both of them as slightly playing in different areas. If you, that depends on the problem that you are solving. People who have heard me before know that I'm obsessed with this question of whether you're solving an efficiency problem or if you're solving an effectiveness problem. I believe Kanban is brilliant. There's absolutely nothing better at solving efficiency problems. The power, or it's not a problem with Kanban, it's the way that we in Indian IT implement Kanban, is that we don't pay enough attention to the whole retrospection, to Pokayoke as we go through the process, which is why I have seen more effectiveness based problems being solved better with Agile. So my rule of thumb is if you're solving an efficiency problem, I'd start with Kanban, but that's just a rule of thumb. There is nothing in the techniques that mean that they can't be applied to solve the other sort of problem.
Thank you.
Okay then. Thank you, Avinash. Thank you so much for question and answers.